All right, welcome back to another episode of Inside the Mind of a Young Entrepreneur. Hope you guys can hear me. I'm currently walking on the treadmill here in the gym, taking my daily walk, and I just thought I would share what's on my mind right now. And basically, the topic that I want to talk about today is the 3 key factors of having a lucrative business, or like the elements in order to create a lucrative business or have the ecosystem running. And you see, I want to drill this in by giving you the metaphor of how you create fire. So to start off, I want to tell you a story from when I were at the electrician school, when I was an apprentice and I went to this electrician school. So one day we had subject, like every other subject was just thrown off the schedule, and that one day we had to learn about how to take down fires, like put out fires, and have this fire certificate. Because when you're an electrician, like there can be tons of fire hazards that you need to know how to deal with when you get in front of one. So the whole schedule was moved out, and we had this fire, what should I call it, subject, or the thing we needed to learn about. And the teacher stood there at the board and draw a triangle and asked us, do you know which 3 things there needs to be in order to create a fire? And people was like, yeah, they didn't know really, like they were a bit hesitant. But the first thing he listed was that you need to have oxygen. That is the number 1 thing to have a fire. Next thing was you need to have some fuel, something that can like fuel this fire that you're creating. And the next thing that he said was that you need heat. And then he showed how, like, to put out a fire, you need to remove one of these 3 things. You can either remove the heat, you can remove the fuel, or you can remove the oxygen. That's why when you are cooking and there's coming a fire from the pot, that you put a towel or like a fire towel, I don't know what it's called, but it's sort of like takes the oxygen away, so it drains the fire. So that's why we do that. And what am I talking about fires here? You see, this relates to a business as well. You see, in order to have a lucrative business, you need 3 things as well. You need to have a market, that's the oxygen. That's what like creates the whole thing. If you don't have a market, you have nothing. You need to have people to give it to. And that's like, you can correlate that to oxygen. Now, what do you need more? You need the offer, and that's the fuel. It fuels the business because you're presenting something to the oxygen. And in order for these 2 things to meet together and create a fire, you need heat, and that's your message. That's what ignites it all and creates this fire. And when you move one of those away, when you have your message and you have your market, but you don't have an offer, you don't have a lucrative business. If you have your message and you have your offer, but you don't really have a market, it doesn't make any sense either. And if you have your, what can I say, have your oxygen and you have your heat, but you don't have any fuel, it won't be successful or lucrative either. That's when you're moving the offer. You only have a market, a message, but you don't have an offer. So now these 3 key things, and that's the lucrative triangle in order to have a lucrative business. So that is why, like, what I see the most is that people, they focus on, like, I have a market. Maybe I'm a fitness coach, or maybe I'm a relationship coach. I help divorced partners get together again or fix their marriage. And they have a offer as well. I present this offer to them and I help them with this so they can get this result. But they're still not, they're missing out the message. They don't have a clear message in order to like amp up the heat and get this fire going. And what they do instead is that they have overlooked this thing. They have them market their offer. And then you just start pouring ads on it and creating funnels and all this stuff. But they don't really have a clear message to speak to these people. And that's the equivalent of taking a dry piece of like wood and the oxygen around it and just starting pouring gasoline on it. Like gasoline will only amplify things. That's why when you don't have the triangle, the message, the market, and the offer, like that is only when you can start pouring gasoline, which is the amplifier, which is funnels and ads. These are amplifiers, and you need to ignite the spark first, and then pour the gasoline. Then it like spread like a wildfire. But people are still having like this wet piece of wood. They're pouring gasoline on it, and it's just went from a dry piece of wood to a wet piece of wood, and then oxygen around it. It doesn't make sense. And that's why people are failing in this. So you need to get clear on your market, 100% clear. Who are you helping? Who are you serving? What are the problems? And then you need to get clear, what am I offering? Like what is it that they so desirably need and want, and then you present it to them. And then you make the bridge between that with the message. How do I communicate this to people? And you can see it a bit like your market is the radio, and you with the offer are the radio station. And you need to dial in to the right wavelength in order for people to know your offer with the message. Like the message is the wavelength, the bridge between your market and your offer. And you can shout all you want, but it's basically like this static noise where people just hurt their ears because it's less scattering like and it doesn't work. Then you need to, that's why you need to cut through the noise with the right message and dial that wavelength in so it matches your audience radio station or radio, and it goes back to your radio station, which is your offer. So that is why message is so important, and I see this over and over again. It's one of the most overlooked things. Like people feel like, all right, I have an offer, I have the market, let's just pour ads and funnels, like create some ads, set up a funnel, and then wish me luck. It doesn't work that way. So next time, really find out what is my message? What like how can I twist the knife in people and get them to like open their eyes for this thing? And it's not about shouting louder. It's about having a clear message. So I think that was it for this video. I will go more in depth in this thing later on, but I feel like it's important that you know this now. So on that note, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, peace, bye.